So the 95% mortgage scheme is now officially launched, and as much as my goal on this channel is to help you invest in property or maybe buy your first home, I also want to share with you as much information as possible to make sure that you make the right decision. Now before I begin, as always, timestamps will be running along the bottom, and smashing that like button would greatly be appreciated if you find any of this useful. But I want to try and look at this topic from a neutral standpoint, discussing the pros and also the cons of such a scheme, which will no doubt have people so excited at the prospect of owning their own home. So with that, let's get started. What's going on everyone, my name is Aaron, aka The Anxious Investor, back with another video to hopefully help you with your investing journey, or maybe even buying your own home. Now the 5% deposit scheme, or the 95% mortgage scheme, however you wish to twist your words, launched yesterday on the 19th of April 2021, and I know for many people this is the perfect opportunity to buy their first home, or maybe their dream one. So I can almost sense an excitement around this. And we also know that the government is trying to promote more home ownership rather than seeing us as a rented nation. And it's no secret that there is an ever increasing desire for home ownership amongst many of you maybe watching this, or just the UK population as a whole. So on the whole, the scheme, at least from a first time buyer's perspective, is seen as a great thing, and the government was quick to back their scheme with some great figures, showing that 2/3 of the private renters, 68%, and those that live at home, 72%, want to buy, with the majority saying that they were saving during the pandemic as owning a home was of great importance to themselves. The survey also showed that 76% of private renters and 70% of those living at home started increasing their savings during the pandemic. So it's definitely something that I know many of you maybe watching this are definitely keen on. So you can definitely see why the government opted for such a scheme. Now alongside this, we also have many high street lenders offering these mortgages, such as Barclays, HSBC, NatWest, RBS, Santander, who have all stated they are happy to provide a mortgage with just 5% deposit, up to the house value of £600,000. Now the guarantee itself comes from the government. It's to ensure that lenders are compensated should they need to repossess, something I'll touch on later. And this guarantee is in place for 7 years from the moment you take that product. Now moving on to the rates, again, please do speak with a mortgage advisor on this topic, but the best mortgage does not always come down to just the one with the lowest rates, as you need to understand the product as a whole, the fees, the early redemption payments, the flexibility to maybe pay more over the year, or change your mortgage based on your situation. So you really need an advisor here to help you calculate the whole cost of the overall product and see how that fits into your current life and also maybe your future goals looking further into the future. Now also it's important to recognize that you are subject to affordability checks and also credit worthiness. So simply wanting a house beyond your financial means from a lender's perspective, even if you have the 5% deposit, won't guarantee you that house. It's not a free-for-all sadly, and you will still be limited based on your credit score, your income, and whether you're deemed just the risk in regards to being able to afford that particular mortgage. Now the scheme itself will be open to applicants until the 31st of December 2022, and the government are hoping for a similar uptake for the scheme like they got following the 2008 financial crisis, where they were able to help 100,000 people buy their own home. And that scheme, as you may know, was a Help to Buy, which launched in 2013. Now it'd be very dangerous of me to suggest and sit here and say go out there and buy your dream home with just 5%, because there are some things that you should still be aware of, and I'm going to just touch on a couple of, I suppose we can call them cons of the 95% mortgage scheme. The first is negative equity. Now I speak about this a lot, and yes, we are in a seller's market, and yes, people don't believe a crash will happen, but it's always better to prepare for the worst case rather than have it land upon you and you're forced into a situation you wouldn't really wish upon your worst enemy. And should we see a down valuation maybe in a year or 2 years time, or your employment ceases for some reason or another, remember, things can happen at any time. If prices do go down by 5 to 10%, you could be forced with negative equity, essentially meaning you owe more on the mortgage than the property is worth. And this isn't a great place to be in. Yes, you could ride it out for the long term, knowing that historically house prices will rise. But again, as I always say, as I've said many times, just because this may seem like the only option does not mean it's the right one for yourselves. Sometimes waiting or improving your current circumstances could cause less heartache or adversity in the future. Something to note perhaps. The second is remortgaging could be a problem. As your loan to value initially is very small, remortgaging may prove difficult. So at the very end of the term, etc., if you're looking for better rates, it just may not be feasible. And the third is the rates aren't great. Due to having such a high LTV, you may not get the greatest rates possible, which is why I always feel that saving 10 to 15%, even if it takes you longer, will serve you better in the long run. Now, as always, the government offers other schemes if this isn't your thing, so please do check the government website out for that. The help to buy equity loans are available, alongside with the shared ownership schemes, something, well, I may potentially do a video on in the future. If you're interested, please do let me know below. Either way, please check the drawbacks and understand all of the costs associated and compare that with delaying your purchase, maybe by 6, 12 or 18 months, where you could potentially have more of a deposit, and see what savings you can make on the whole term of that particular mortgage. Try to also think of the worst case scenario as well, just so you're fully prepared to tackle all obstacles. And finally, as I wrap this video up, don't forget to smash that like button as well, and drop a comment down below if you have any questions or if this is a scheme that you're taking up. So until next time, I'll roll those bloopers, and I thank you all so much for watching. Now before I begin, as always, timestamps will be running along the bottom. So the schemes come out. So the scheme with some who are all happy to provide who have all stated there are